You want to know what caused January 6th? There's such a temptation to say that there's one man whose name is unspeakable. We can't.
No, first of all, it's QAnon. It's QAnon.
It's QAnon.
This is Vivek Ramaswamy on the right and Tucker Carlson on the left, as a matter of fact. So Vivek Ramaswamy, if you're unfamiliar watching this 5 years in the future, he's a candidate for the Republican primary right now. He's basically running against Donald Trump and, you know, a variety of other people. Ron DeSantis has a reasonable shot, I suppose. Chris Christie, people like that. So Vivek, I think he's number 4 in the polls right now. He was number 4 in the polls when this came out. It had like 5% or something like that. Well, anyways, the Republican primaries had not happened yet as of the moment that this stuff we're going to watch tonight was filmed, right? So they're still kind of battling to figure out who's going to be the nominee. In all seriousness, it's going to be Trump. Everybody knows it's going to be Trump from the very beginning. His polls are way too high compared to all the other people for it not to be Donald Trump that's nominated for the Republican candidate for a political office in 2024. Of course it'll be Trump. He's at like 60% or something like that, right? Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. But you got people like Vivek Ramaswamy and others, you know, Ron DeSantis probably to a degree, that are doing this because they want to, you know, increase their possibility of higher payments on book deals. Or they want to increase the possibility that they'll get a cabinet seat, you know, Secretary of Transportation, I don't know, Secretary of the Treasury, whatever. The Secretary of Education, or the head of the Department of Education. So I don't know what it's called now. So anyways, that's really why Vivek is running. And you can tell that's why Vivek is running, because he refuses to take any shots at Trump at all. Won't say a negative word about the dude, as we can see here. He is defending January 6th as an event and refusing to acknowledge the fact that it was a terrorist action that took place, and also a full-blown insurrection. And he's defending Trump in his role in January 6th. So he went on Tucker Carlson to talk about all this stuff. But we're not going to be talking about the Tucker interview. I just want to give you a little taste of who Vivek Ramaswamy is. And we might hit the Tucker clip at the end. Here's what I wanted to talk about. There's a TV network called the Victory Network. I don't know if you know of it. It's kind of like Oxygen or E or Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or Disney or whatever. It's just another TV network that you can kind of scroll through. I'm not sure which channel is Victory on. Apparently, the Victory channel on Spectrum is channels 98, 472, and 496. So you can just switch to those channels if you want to watch Victory Network. Anyway, it's owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland, right? And this show here that I got pulled up, Flashpoint, it airs on the Victory Network all the time. And it is an absolutely psychotic, unglued from reality, insane TV show that is basically everything, every thought that would pop into Donald Trump's head comes out of these people's mouths. It's bizarre. So I want to give this a listen, because, believe it or not, what we're about to hear is an apology from the Victory Network, from Flashpoint, from Gene Bailey. An apology. For what, I hear you asking? Well, they had Vivek Ramaswamy on to interview him. So let's give this apology video a listen, see what they have to say, and then we're going to get some groundwork about what Vivek Ramaswamy had to say when he went on Kenneth Copeland's TV network in the first place. So listen to this apology, July 21st, 2023. It's ridiculous.
Well, tonight, before we get started, I want to personally address some things about Flashpoint from last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday was the interview, of course, with Ramaswamy.
Let me start off with this. This program is based 100% on the Christian Bible. That is not up for discussion.
Okay.
Flashpoint's totally sponsored by the Victory Channel and Kenneth Copeland Ministries.
Yeah, it says Victor in the top right corner, we assumed. Go on.
Neither I nor anyone else in this team has or will ever embrace another religion.
Oh my God, dude. This is fascinating, actually. Let me tell you why. This is the quintessential example of cancel culture on the right. Let me tell you a little secret about cancel culture, okay? There is no cancel culture, first of all. From time to time, people are canceled for the things that they say, do, think, believe, whatever. It's a form of holding a public figure accountable for their actions. Now, in the process of cancellation, I have a lot of issues with it. Naturally, when you're canceling somebody, when you're doing this big boycott type of thing, things that are untrue will be said. So I have my own issues with it. But here's the secret about canceling people. They cannot be canceled unless it's their own audience doing the canceling. Donald Trump can't be canceled, quote unquote, by people on the left. He already has been. The Victory Network or Flashpoint or whoever can't be canceled by us. We are not the audience. Their core listeners, their believers have to be the ones that get outraged. That's why you see Donald Trump time after time do scumbag stuff and get away with it, because his audience is so desensitized to the disgusting stuff that he does every single day that they don't care anymore. He just wants his name on everybody's lips, whatever it takes. And he has basically created like a weariness in people where they don't care what he does anymore. He's bulletproof, immune to any kind of criticisms or anything like that. Donald Trump is, right? Just as an example. The fact that the Victory Network felt the need to come out and apologize publicly simply for having Vivek Ramaswamy on their program and interviewing him, which we're going to look at in a second, blows me away. It should tell you something. It should tell you that these people are scared desperately. I'm talking the Flashpoint people. They're scared. You know why? Because they realize that they've just seriously upset their core audience and they're about to lose everything. They are backtracking as hard as they possibly can right now to hold on to what little audience they have left at the moment, simply for interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy. And again, the interview was nothing big or crazy. It wasn't like he said everybody should become a Hindu or anything like that. And we keep listening to the apology, then we'll take a look at Vivek.
So why did I have a presidential candidate on the program Tuesday that professes another faith?
He's a Hindu, like I said.
When someone of another faith begins to gain popularity, especially with the younger generation, you need to know about that. We want you educated and empowered when it comes to matters of Scripture, our government.
Well, okay, that's really, really interesting. So you need to know about it when somebody of another faith is running for president. Okay, interesting. It was most definitely a positive interview. Absolutely positive. Did they give the same type of positive interview to Ilhan Omar when she was running? Well, not for president, of course, but she ran for Congress. Did they give the same positive attention? Do they give the same positive attention for Ilhan Omar? Because I seem to distinctly remember a Trump prophet, not Flashpoint exactly, but a Trump prophet nonetheless, perfectly politically and religiously aligned with Flashpoint, saying something very specific about somebody of another faith.
Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar.
You are a snake in the grass. You were a spy sent from your land to get everything you could to give it back to the nation that you serve. I am ripping the information out of your hands and your mouth will be shut. You infiltrated my nation, and that is the last thing you will ever do.
That is insane. This came out, by the way, Julie Green did this video mid-August 2022. That's when this was released officially. Anyway, the point is, these people on the right, they don't give, Muslims or Hindu or Buddhists or whatever airtime, positive airtime. It doesn't happen. But they did in this case. They gave him positive airtime, and the blowback is something that they could not manage. Keep listening.
Educated and empowered when it comes to matters of Scripture, our government, and even our presidential candidates. I won't back down. I won't back down from the Judeo-Christian values this nation was founded upon.
Oh my God. Okay. Judeo-Christian isn't even a real term. It was made up not even that long ago, first of all. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now. And second, the United States was not founded on those principles. But okay. You know what the U.S. was founded on, actually? The U.S., in all seriousness, was founded on Enlightenment principles. literally the exact opposite of these Christian Judeo values that they talk about all the time. Thomas Jefferson is one of the founders of the Enlightenment movement. He is known as an Enlightenment thinker. It's insane to me that they try to slip this nonsense in the way they do. Okay. I'm getting off on a tangent here. Keep listening.
Back down from the Judeo-Christian values this nation was founded upon. Neither will this ministry, this channel, this program, and neither should you, ever. I remain to stand proud and proclaim Jesus is Lord. And it's only that faith that will stand the test of time.
We'll see, won't we? He seems awfully confident, doesn't he? How do you know? How do you know that you are more correct, Gene Bailey, than the Muslim or the Buddhist? Hell, you know what? Let's get even more granular. How are you so sure that you are correct about your interpretation of the Bible rather than the Methodist or the Pentecostal? I mean, I guess his faith is kind of adjacent to it. And the point is, he's not. He's not more sure. You know why? Because the Bible endorses a litany of different beliefs and positions and moral ideals, and there's absolutely no way to follow a track in the Bible like that. There's no way to get your moral guidance from the Bible. There's no way. I mean, literally any position that you want to hold, morally or theologically or whatever, is there because it's such a gigantic book. So he doesn't. I mean, Gene Bailey, he has no idea if he's more correct than any of these people. He just likes to pretend that he is. So anyways, let's talk about this interview with Vivek Ramaswamy on the Flashpoint network, or on the Flashpoint TV show. No, I'm sorry. You know what? The apology didn't come out July 21st. My mistake. The apology came out shortly after that, late July 2023. It was not the 21st, because the 21st is when the interview actually took place. So anyway, let's listen to part of the interview and see what Gene Bailey here had to say in the interview. This is the opener. Should give you some context for how he started this.
And so they're asking me, why would you have a guy that's a Hindu on and compared to Christianity? And I think this is before we go any further, I need to hear from you. Speak to that with our audience, because they need to understand where you come down on this, on the stand of religious freedom. Are you against Christianity? You know, where is all of this happening? I know you've had to deal with this already before, but I want to.
You know what's sad? Gene Bailey just rambled for, I don't know, how long was that? 20 seconds about how much he loves Jesus and how much he hopes that Vivek isn't going to say something stupid to give people the impression he doesn't also love Jesus, even though he very clearly doesn't. That was only 20 seconds. Would you be surprised to find that I cut out another at least 20 seconds? The dude rambled for like a minute straight or something like that about loving Jesus and how he hopes that Vivek shares his feelings on it. It's just embarrassing, man. It should show you that he was kind of worried. He was afraid of what the blowback would be, interviewing a Hindu person on their TV show. And as it turns out, I guess they were right to be worried about that blowback. So listen to what Vivek says here.
You know, where is all of this happening? I know you've had to deal with this already before, but I wanted our people to hear from you direct.
I'm very familiar with the Bible and the values enshrined in the Bible. And I will tell you, when I read the Bible, it didn't feel like I was reading it for the first time.
What the hell does that mean? I don't know. It didn't feel like you were reading it for the first time? What are you talking about? What does that mean? I don't understand. Is he saying he believes that the Bible is like written on people's hearts and they recognize the verses? So is he saying he believes the Bible is real? He's Hindu. I don't get it. Please fill me in, Vivek.
Read the Bible, it didn't feel like I was reading it for the first time. I do think that the real divide in our country is not between people of Hindu faith and Christian faith and Jewish faith. It's the people who believe in a one true God and those who have replaced that vacuum with new secular religions instead.
Oh boy, that's concerning. First of all, Vivek Ramaswamy is a Hindu. He does not believe in the one true God. He believes in, I think, 33 main gods and then like tons and millions or thousands at least of other sub-gods underneath them, from my understanding. I haven't looked into Hinduism in a long, long time. But anyways, this is just completely fabricated, first of all. He doesn't believe in the one true God. And second, I find it fascinating that he's trying to turn Christianity versus the world into religion versus atheists. That's an interesting tactic. So this dude is vehemently hated. They believe that this guy to be vile because he's a Hindu. And instead of refusing to work with somebody who views him that way, he's giving them the ammunition they need to destroy, the proverbial ammunition, to destroy everybody around them. That is just some disturbing stuff right there. Okay, so he's going to tell us about this secular religion, right? All right, tell me about the secular religion, Vivek.
That vacuum with new secular religions instead. Wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, COVIDism.
COVIDism, you say? Okay. God, dude. This guy is so ridiculous. It's like, how many buzzwords can you fit into a single sentence, right? It was almost like every single word that he said was a buzzword. Climatism? COVIDism? Transgenderism is apparently part of the secular religion? Okay. I feel like I don't even need to address this because it's ridiculous at its face, right?
These are modern cults that have substituted for the individual, family, nation, and God.
Okay, interesting. They're modern cults. Well, let me tell you something about cults. When it's all boiled down, a cult is something that exerts control or undue influence over a person or a group or whatever. At its most basic form, a cult is simply an abusive relationship between the adherent and the leader. It's effectively forcing people to follow your instructions and controlling every aspect of their lives and holding things hostage if they refuse to follow your directions. Like they're, emotionally hold them hostage, for example, holds their family hostage. Tell them if their family disagrees with them or whatever, or you start questioning anything, we've got your family and we'll take them away. Or we will tell you to stop hanging out with your family, for example. That's the type of thing that cults do. Now, do we see any of that with COVIDism? Put that in air quotes. Or what was the other one? Secularism included transgenderism, wokeism. What was the other? God, I'm trying to remember. It's suddenly slipping my mind here. So climatism was the other, and COVIDism. God, it's so ridiculous. Everything out of this dude's mouth is absurd.
Nation and God, faith in something bigger than ourselves. So I think that's the real divide in our country.
Well, not for nothing, but isn't that, if somebody believes in climatism, quote unquote, the way he says here, isn't that a belief in something bigger than themselves? Just kind of tossing it out there for what it's worth. Keep listening.
But I stand for religious liberty. I stand unapologetically for life. I stand unapologetically for the revival of faith as a value in our country. In many ways, I'm at liberty to do it even more freely without anybody accusing me of being a Christian nationalist as I do. And I think that's a big part of why I've actually had more success in being unshackled.
Look at this shit-eating grin on the dude's face on the left. This is a Gene Bailey here. God, it's just insufferable, right? Look, watch him nod and laugh and smile as he says it. Basically what he's saying is, I'm black, so I can't be racist. That's effectively what he's saying. You can't call me a white supremacist because I'm black. There are no black white supremacists. Doesn't exist. He's effectively saying that, but for Christianity, right? He's not a Christian, so nobody can accuse him of being a Christian nationalist. No, we can. If you are a Christian nationalist, we can very easily accuse you of that. Just like, if somebody is black, we can also accuse them of being a white supremacist.
I used to think that when they used that word, white supremacy, it was a negative word. But now I realize what they're thinking is that, and it's true, by the way, that white men are smarter than them, superior to them. And instead of learning, oh, hey, how did you become so superior? They want to destroy it so that they won't be reminded how dumb they are. And so they're dumbing everybody and everything down rather than coming up to the level of white supremacy.
So this is Jesse Lee Peterson. If you don't know him, he has significantly more influence than I do. If you may be watching this episode on my Fireside chat channel. This is my podcast, okay? This doesn't even have 100,000 subbies yet. I'm on my way. I'm almost there. Should hit that by the end of the month, maybe. But my main channel has almost 500,000. I'm real close to 500,000 subbies on that channel. Almost 500,000. I'm so close. I'm creeping up on 400,000 right now. This dude has more influence than me by far, I would say. He's a perfect example of a black white supremacist. So, again, I say, Vivek, I can call you a Christian nationalist all day, and I have no problem with that. Just because you're a Hindu doesn't mean that you're not a Christian nationalist, furthering the goals of Christian nationalists. You absolutely are. And this guy is sitting over here laughing and smiling and all this other stupid stuff because he thinks he just got one over on people.
As I do. And I think that's a big part of why I've actually had more success in being unshackled, in living our lives according to those same Christian values, even though you're right. It's true.
Okay, Vivek does not live his life according to Christian values. I don't know what he's talking about. Hinduism is completely different than Christianity. Like, completely. They have almost nothing in common.
You're right. It's true. I wasn't raised in a Christian household. That is an accurate fact.
Absolutely insane, dude. This guy is desperate to get as many votes and eyeballs and views as he possibly can because that virtually guarantees a spot in the Trump administration. Of course, I really deeply doubt Trump's going to get another term, but that's a story for another day. He's trying to raise his public profile. That's what he's doing right now. So he kind of goes into a talking points coma after this, what I would call like a buzzword coma. Listen to what Vivek has to say just a few minutes later. This was a really short interview. It was only 5-10 minutes long. And God, it's just so unglued from reality. Check this out. I'm sorry. Remember, one more thing. This interview upset people. This interview upset the Flashpoint audience. The evangelical extremist Kenneth Copeland donating people. It upset them. This Hindu coming on here telling people he's a Christian nationalist and he is working toward the goals of Christian nationalism. And he still upset him. I mean, at this point, it's pretty clear, right? Like, you just can't have a Hindu on under any circumstances. Anybody who is not white and male and Christian, like, even if they're arguing in favor of your causes, you can't have them on, seemingly. That's insane.
This campaign is about speaking the truths, the hard truths that other people are afraid to say out loud.
Okay. I'm not afraid to say any truth out loud, no matter what that truth is. I believe in truth for truth's sake, the value of truth for its own sake. We don't need to cover anything up because it's unpleasant or any of that. I believe in it. So what are these hard truths you got for me, Vivek? Tell me.
The fact that God is real, that there are two genders, that unborn life is life, that parents determine the education of their children.
The talking points coma, I told you guys. This is like, this dude is lost in La La Land. He can't think of anything except for these buzzwords and wants to fit as many of them as he possibly can into every sentence that he says with these people. Oh yeah, before I continue, hang on. I'm not going to get into too much detail here because I don't want to, but I was talking to somebody recently who was interviewing for a job with a pretty prestigious public interest organization. We just put it that way, right? They're in the law field. They're talking to some public interest people. Basically, it's like a civil liberties type of place, fighting for like everybody's rights to whatever. So anyways, I was talking to this person about it. And, during the interview, this person said a few basic buzzwords like, there's a systemic oppression, for example. They pointed that out. Well, that's just something that you have to study in law school. That's not really a buzzword. It only exists as a buzzword because people like this have turned it into one. There is, in fact, systemic oppression, whether you like that or not. That's a hard truth they don't like. Now, this person used, 2 or 3 buzzwords that were turned into buzzwords in the first place because of these guys throughout the interview. And I think it was fine. Like, it was good, honestly, because when you're dealing with a civil liberties type of deal, When you're trying to work with a company like that, you need to make them understand that you're on the same page, that you believe in civil liberties, and you recognize the fact of the world around you. You don't live in this bizarre little echo chamber where, you don't get stuck in these talking point comas, for lack of a better term, like Vivek did here. So I think this person used, 2 or 3 buzzwords: systemic oppression and privilege, and maybe one more. I don't even remember now. How many does Vivek fit into just like every single sentence he says? It seems to me there's at least one buzzword in every sentence, right? Wokeism, transgenderism, COVIDism. I mean, it's just absurd. You think that's absurd, though? You haven't even heard the most absurd part. Keep listening here.
That the nuclear family is the best known form of governance to mankind.
Best form of governance to mankind. Now, I don't know about you, but last I checked, the nuclear family is structured like a dictatorship. Now, in small units like that, maybe that's required, right? Especially when you're trying to teach somebody something. That's totally fair. If you're trying to raise a child, somebody has to make final decisions at the end of the day, right? You have to put your foot down and tell them they need to do their work. They need to do the dishes. They need to do their homework, and that's all there is to it. It's structured like a dictatorship, which isn't bad in smaller units, but what was it he said again? The family unit is what?
Family is the best known form of governance to mankind.
This is his way of effectively saying dictatorship is the best known form of governance in mankind. This is his way of subtly calling out to people who are done with democracy in the U.S. That is insane. That is the state of the Republican Party at this point.
I had the ultimate privilege. People use that word a lot these days, privilege.
They do? Okay.
I actually accept the accusation of saying that I had privilege. I wasn't born into money.
Okay, wait a minute. So you were not born into money, so that would mean you didn't have privilege. This is his talking point coma. He has no idea what he's talking about. He's just saying these buzzwords to get him out because he thinks the audience will like it. Now, I reiterate, once again, Flashpoint is scared of what's going to happen with their audience because they brought this dude on. Just think about how many buzzwords he used. If they don't accept this guy, they won't accept anybody. An ACLU lawyer in NOLA makes $38,000 in their first year. In the oil industry, it's $150,000. Who has the better lawyers? Interesting question. Yeah, that's I appreciate the message there. Neverman is here. My wife is actually going to college to get a law degree, so I know a decent bit about kind of how it works. The law field is split into different areas, I guess you'd say. You've got criminal law, you've got big law or corporate law, and then you've got public interest. And there are others, divorce law and things like that. There are other smaller things, but those are really the main 3 that people get into. When you leave law school, you're going to enter one of those. You want to be a judge? Then you're going to have to go through the whole prosecutor deal and, criminal law, basically. That's criminal law. That's the area, right? Public interest is not a high-paying field at all. That's what the ACLU is, public interest. Anybody fighting for civil liberties, very low-paying. But it's something that you believe in. And that's what really, at the end of the day, counts, in my opinion. Corporate law, from my understanding, chews you up and spits you out. It's a soul-sucking, heartless, terrible job, but you make a ton of money. I would honestly rather make nearly nothing and do what I love rather than make a ton of money and do something I hate personally. So there's a little nuance to that. Yeah, you're absolutely right that corporate law, like ExxonMobil's lawyers and stuff, they're getting paid a lot more. But public interest people love it. They're in it for the long haul because they're just, they love what they do. There's an interesting dichotomy to talk about there. I appreciate that I appreciate you pointing that out. It was pretty interesting. All right, let's keep listening to Vivek here.
I wasn't born into money.
Sorry, let me start at the beginning of his talking point coma. That makes absolutely no sense.
Accept the accusation of saying that I had privilege. I wasn't born into money, but I had the ultimate privilege of having 2 parents, a mother and father in the house, who had a focus on education.
Well, that's really interesting. Republicans have actually been discouraging education, so he kind of lost the plot on that one. Aside from that thing he said about having a mother and a father. Statistically, yes, you're more likely to succeed if you have a two-parent home. That's true. But this is nothing more than an anti-black dog whistle. They use, I mean, I'm talking Republicans, especially Republican candidates like we're listening to right here, use this talking point, which seems pretty innocuous at its face, to attack people that they don't like, to attack the black community, plain and simple. The black community is largely being torn apart and has been for decades. Hell, look at the 1940s, 50s, 60s. They were jailing black people left and right. They're still doing that, you know? They are jailing these people, which splits up families and breaks up homes and creates single-parent households. You know, this boils down to one of two things. The answer to this problem, the problem of, for example, the black community disproportionately having single-parent households, the answer can be one of two things, only one of two. Either the reason this is happening is because it's environmental. It's something about, you know, the way that the government did things or the way that things played out in the past. And if that's the case, we can fix it. If it's environmental, it's something we can work on to correct. That's the first option. Option number two, there's a genetic inferiority between black people and white people. And if you believe that, if you think that black people are just inherently genetically inferior to white people, and that's why they have single-parent households, you're just a Nazi. That's exactly what Nazis believed about Jews. So, okay, just admit that. That's all you got to do. Anyways, Vivek here is shouting out to the guys that believe it's genetic. This is a dog whistle. It's only audible, really, to the people that need to hear it. Nobody else is picking up on it. That's what a dog whistle is. Anyway, let's keep listening here. So, two-parent household, okay?
A mother and father in the house who had a focus on education and instilled in us a faith in God. That is the ultimate privilege. And I want to make sure not just my two sons, but every kid in this country has a chance to enjoy that same privilege too.
Every kid in the country has the privilege to learn about God. You want to make sure that that happens? Am I wrong? Didn't that already happen? Aren't people allowed to do that? I'm sorry, I might be mistaken. Aren't people allowed to just learn about God if they choose? Aren't people allowed to teach their children about this? Apparently, he wants to get into office to allow people to be religious. Fantastic.
That's why I'm running. That's why I think it's going to take a person of a different generation to do it, to actually reach that next generation of Americans.
Yeah, he's 36 or 37 or something, and he's almost a billionaire. I think he's got 630 million. And he thinks he connects with millennials. The people who were coming to adulthood around the time that 20% of the country lost their homes from the Great Recession. What was unemployment like around then? Let's see. Okay, it looks like in late 2009, I think the height was 10% unemployment. So we had 15 million, it appears. Hard to tell. Total employment dropped by 8.6 million jobs. It dropped by almost 6%. Total employment. Again, somewhere in the vicinity of 20% of the country lost their homes. So again, Vivek, please tell me about how you understand the millennial struggle. Tell me more about how you know what it's like with your $630 million that you've had for so long. Tell me about it. I want to hear. Lay it on me. This dude's trying to connect with millennials.
Generation of Americans.
Yeah, I guess that was the end of that clip. It's just absurd, dude. It's absurd on every level. The dude has no idea what it's like to be a millennial. He has no idea what it's like to suffer. He has no clue what it's like to be broke, to have nothing but the shirt on your back and the shoes on your feet. He's got $630 million. He has no clue. And obviously he's just interested in repeating talking points nonstop, entering talking point comas when he is invited on these shows and just repeating them verbatim. And the funniest thing about the whole incident is that Flashpoint got, in trouble by their own fans for hosting him. Dude that was willing to say whatever it took to make these people happy. And why didn't they accept him? Because he's not white and he's not Christian. Kind of a fascinating glimpse into the way these people see things, right? This evangelical voting bloc as a whole. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. It fascinates the hell out of me. Was he really born into poverty? That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not convinced. Like, I know literally nothing about the guy's history except what he's told the public, and I don't even believe that. All I checked was his net worth, and it's about $630 million. So it's hard to know exactly what his real worth is. But I can tell you this, it's not the worth of the average millennial. It's about $629.9999 million more than the average millennial. That's how much money this guy has, basically.